evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Collectorcast episode 29. Oh, we hope it's going to be, because already this is going badly wrong.
It's gone. We're already hurtling down the sewer.
Welcome to the show, guys.
Hello.
Yes.
Especially, welcome to the show, Steve.
Indeed, John and I have been here for an hour.
Yeah, we are well and truly warmed up. This is pint number 3.
Oh, God. John's already drunk.
Oh, dear.
Well, that was pint number 1, to be fair, but...
That was half pint number 1.
I'm on tea, don't worry.
I've taken a sufficient amount of performance-enhancing drugs, and I am ready to podcast.
Oh, good grief. So we're already off to a flyer. Steve's an hour late. John's drunk. I'm going to have to carry this one again, aren't I, boys?
Is that how you see it, Andy?
It is, yeah, pretty much. Not that I have an ego or anything.
Not at all. So, have you guys been playing any board games?
Have you, John?
I have, actually.
Yeah, you have. I played a board game with you just yesterday, John.
There you go.
And it was the best game for your intellectual level.
How dare you?
What was it, Snap?
No, it was the cupcake
It was
game.
Snap, actually. Yes, it was Snap as well.
Oh, yeah, we did play that as well. In fact, I've been doing quite well with the kids' games. For the record, it's not just me playing them for the love of it. I have been entertaining small children. And not in a weird way. Don't look at me like that, Andy.
See, that noise is the sound of the police being called.
So yeah, we played Farmyard Snap and the shopping cart game.
Shopping cart game, that's it. Why do I always want to call it the cupcake game?
Because there's also a cupcake game.
Oh, that's right.
What?
It's our friend's daughter. She's just 3 years old, and she's got this little game where you have to get all the items on your shopping list.
Oh, I see. So it's like preparing you for real life.
It's just a sort of board gamey brief interlude to making sure they don't scream for a bit.
Surely that's why you put whiskey in their milk.
And that's why Andy's not allowed children.
Well, that and a few other things.
Because Andy would do things like that to them.
So yeah, we played that. I played Sorry. And
I do actually feel sorry for you that you had to play Sorry.
See what you did there, Steve?
Yeah, we played a modified version of Sorry.
Did they make it good?
Well, it's different. It's quicker. So if you've got small children, you've got a short attention span, the revised version that we played is definitely quicker than the original.
You reckon you could do the same for Talisman?
Talisman for children. I thought you guys argued that Talisman was a children's game.
Yeah, but you just said you made it shorter, quicker, and more fun. So maybe that's something you can do to Talisman.
I didn't say more fun. You can't make Talisman more fun.
Roll 1d6. One who gets the highest score wins the game. We can put it away and play something better.
You guys are going to love the We're Not Wizards podcast.
Oh, good grief.
In fact, by the time this comes out, you'll probably have already heard it. And you'll be delighted with the content. I didn't mention Talisman once. I mentioned it every 30 seconds.
You might actually lose Richard some listeners doing that.
I doubt it. In fact, if you listen to a few of his podcasts recently, you'll notice that at least 2 of the 3 that I listened to, so 2 of the 3 in the last probably 2 weeks, people were on there who mentioned that they enjoy Talisman. So in your face.
What was wrong with them? Did he just grab them off the street?
Well, you've heard the good news, John, and you've heard the bad news, haven't you, Andy?
The bad news, yes, the bad news. The world was in mourning when Steve revealed to me the other day that Talisman is in fact going to be released for a 4th edition by Coil Spring Games, which I considered a dark day in the history of board gaming.
Strictly speaking, it would be for a 5th edition because we've already got 4th edition revised, in fact.
No, it is going to be exactly the same version.
Okay. It's just
going to be the 4th edition. Been trying to get some information direct from Cold Spring, and my impression is it is actually leftover stock that they're beginning with from the Fantasy Flight previous version. So I think it is even the revised 4th edition that's coming out.
Ooh.
There you go. So, Andy, you could still own a proper copy.
I could, or there could be a mysterious warehouse fire.
The problem is you don't want to get Andy onto Talisman. That'd be a bad idea because he will be bankrupt.
Oh, God, with all the expansions.
Yes. Your adventures in the last few weeks of trying to buy everything for Battlestar Galactica.
And succeeding!
Yeah, and where have you had to buy the last expansion you were looking for? Where did you order it from yesterday?
Denmark.
I swear it's going to turn up and all the cards are going to be in Danish.
It's
and
not.
gonna be
No, I
hilarious.
emailed the guy and said, "Is it all in English?" He says yes. So, I got it for the princely sum of actually only €36, which I thought was bloody good considering it's out of print. It cost me nearly half that in shipping, but never mind.
It's going to look like a photocopy, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
It'll be fine. But that will make me very happy. So I'll have the complete Battlestar collection, and then I've got to go through the arduous task of finding out which expansions are good and which ones are shit.
You mean you're actually going to have to play some games rather than just buy them?
I play plenty of games, Cage. Pot kettle.
You've got me there.
In fact, I was trying to play one before until I got 3/4 of the way through the rulebook and decided, no, this is too much.
John Cage, the only regular host of a board gaming podcast who doesn't actually play board games.
Indeed.
That's not true. I just don't play many new board games. And to be fair, I blame that entirely on you guys because normally my source of new board games is you two. And I haven't been able to play any board games with you guys because you've got, well, we collectively have got awfully full social lives at the moment, it seems.
That is true.
Well, I wouldn't call it an awfully full social life. I call it an awfully busy life. It seems to be very little social stuff actually going on at this point.
Whenever I try and organise to sort something out board gaming wise, you guys seem to be off board gaming with someone else. So
You've got to get in quick.
yeah,
We're busy men. Popular.
true. Science fact.
Well, the fact that I'm here means that my trip to try and play some Dungeons and Dragons worked quite well.
Oh, really?
In that it worked quite well, in that it wasn't a complete and utter disaster. Only a small disaster.
That's true. You came back. We didn't have to send out a search party or anything.
No. Unfortunately, somebody else didn't turn up, so I was expecting like a party of 4, and there was a party of 2.
Oh, that's a bit...
So I had to throw something together at the last minute.
So are you
dear.
DMing this?
I was DMing, yeah.
Okay.
So I threw a little sidetrack together at the last minute. Really quite interesting, though, because I threw a sidetrack which should have been for like 4 level 4 characters and 2 level 1 characters played it.
Oh, wow.
How did that go?
Bit of DM fudging went on, I think.
Right.
All right. They didn't get stomped into mulch at the first enemy then.
Well, there was only one enemy in it. It was quite interesting. It was quite a clever little side quest, actually, and one of the characters fell asleep due to a spell put on them. So it was one guy fighting off 3 monsters at the beginning when it should have been like a party of 6, you know.
Brilliant.
Oh, outstanding. Oh, well done. That's... Is that the same group that's you're playing tomorrow?
Yeah, that is, yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll actually play the adventure I planned to play.
And it's not the Mines of Fandalar, is it?
No, because one person has already played the Mines of Fandalar, so I am mining my resources of ancient dungeon magazines.
Excellent.
He says while stroking his DM's beard. Yes, I shall open my mystical tome. Let us see what's in the book.
It's a bit like that, actually. Those dungeon magazines have been in my parents' attic for about 15 years.
Jesus.
They're in surprisingly good nick, considering. I've also got some really random D&D books that I bought in a sale somewhere, like the complete book of Paladins. I don't know why I've got it, just it was cheap.
We need to finish some of the many campaigns that we've started as well.
We do, actually, yes. Because you've got one going on with Steve. You've got one going on with me. You're spreading yourself thin there, John.
Well, not really, because I never play any of them.
Well, that's true.
So, we have played some games, though.
We have.
Some real games, some proper games.
Some proper games. Some games that regular
proper
listeners
games.
might actually want to play rather than
Talisman.
games for 5-year-olds. 5-year-olds, by the way, bloody cruel.
They also cheat. Well, 3-year-olds cheat profusely.
Yeah, some of them do. This 5-year-old didn't really cheat, but I thought having been crushed at Sorry by him, I thought I'd introduce him to Suro. And frustratingly, it turns out he's equally as bloody good at that.
Well, talking about random paths and selecting your movements carefully,
Mm-hmm.
me and Andy played a game of Runewars, the miniatures game.
We did indeed. Well, you say played a game of, Steve. Steve got crushed by my superior military mind.
Speaking of playing with 5-year-olds, is this?
Ooh!
I gotta admit, I made one tactical error in that game, and
did,
it
you
lost
played
me
against
the
me.
entire game. No, I put my spearmen in the wrong place.
Is this a
and,
bit
yeah,
like
yeah, well.
flying your ships into one another, Steve?
Pretty much, yes.
Well-
he made that analogy during the game.
It's a really good analogy because this game is so similar to X-Wing in its basic systems that you can make the same errors, basically.
And he did.
Runewars is a rank and file miniatures game. We're playing with just the core set, so we haven't got anything extra.
Okay.
So this is just what you can buy off the shelf as a core set, which you get a couple of regiments of basically knights. So you got some horsemen, some spearmen, an elven hero woman, and a big stone golem with 4 arms.
A big rock bastard, yes.
Yeah, and then the other side have got is the undead, and they've got a regiment of just skeletal soldiers, a regiment of skeletal archers, dead knight, dread knight, or whatever you want to call him, and then an undead man riding a giant worm.
And that was awesome. Best miniature in the game.
Worm as in WYRM.
No, not a dragon, an actual worm. A bit like worms from Dune.
More like a
But
sandworm.
a lot smaller.
But it's like half between a worm and a centipede.
Okay.
Calls it like a giant carrion worm, I think it is the exact name for it.
Carrion Rider, I think they're called. Something like that, yes.
Yeah.
Carry on riding. That's something else, isn't it?
Yes. Kenneth Williams was found in the box as well.
So was it any good?
Yeah. I would say that because I won.
It's worth mentioning, go a little bit through the basic mechanics of it, because I think this is quite different to a lot of other kind of rank and file games. So the old rank and file game that most people will be aware of is Warhammer Fantasy Battles, which of course is no longer with us because Games Workshop have dropped that. There's quite a bit of interest in the old Mantic games, who are basically they're all made up of people who used to work for Games Workshop, basically, who now work for this Mantic company, and they've made their own fantasy miniatures rank and file. But this is Fantasy Flight 1, set in the same setting as the Fantasy Flight fantasy games. So there's the Rune Wars strategy game, Runebound, Rune Lords, I think it is, and then Descent, which is the dungeon crawling Hero Quest type game.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's all set in the same world as that. And then it's based originally off the kind of X-Wing system, with quite a few tweaks to turn it into this rank and file game. So X-Wing always worked by you selected your maneuver on a dial, and then you move in pilot skill order, and then everyone shoots.
Maneuver as in the direction you're going.
Yeah, so what you do is you'll select a maneuver. In X-Wing, you had to specifically say what you were doing, so it could be a hard bank left, a shallow bank left, right, straight ahead, and it'd also be a speed with it as well. So every ship had different maneuvers. This takes the similar system, but makes it a little bit more flexible. So, as I said, in X-Wing, you had to say exactly what you were going to do.
Right.
Whereas in Rune Wars, you select your action for the round. And this could be to march, it could be to re-maneuver, which is to rotate. It could be like a little shuffle to position yourself better. It could be fire a ranged weapon. It could be attack. And then what you do is you've got a second dial, which you then select your special action on. And a special action could allow you to turn. So rather than doing your march straight forward, you'd march with a bank. Or it allowed you to charge, or it might give you a bonus in combat.
Quite a few options then.
Yes.
A few options, a little bit more flexible, but it's very different to something like Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Because in Warhammer, you chose what you wanted to do when you did it. All right, I'm going to move this unit now, or they're going to charge. Or I'm going to move this unit now, I'm going to move this. Now, when you select the dial, it also selects our initiative value.
Okay.
So you've got to think carefully about what orders you've given everything else, and carefully about what you think your opponent's going to do.
Yeah, because each action has a different initiative value on it. So there might be 3 movement actions, say a 2, a 3, and a 4 distance that you can go, but each one will have a different initiative value on it. Usually, the higher value will be a slower initiative, as it were, but not necessarily.
So if you want to bank hard, you've got to think about it more.
Yes.
Got to do it more.
No, you still travel the same distance, but your opponent might do something first. So if you're planning to sort of bank and charge into their flank, for example, they'll have moved out of the road, potentially, by the time you actually get to them. And if you sort of run charging in, you end up getting to the end and go, what the hell do we do now? And everyone sort of breaks morale and goes into a panic, which is quite hilarious, which happened 3 times to me.
Yes.
But also, each side has initiative as well. So if you have slightly fewer points than your opponent, you get to go first. In the case of a tie, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah. So even that can work against you in some ways. And to be honest, I think it's actually better in a lot of ways to actually go second.
Yeah, okay.
But it's also quite interesting is that the dials have also got your attacks on there. So it's a perfectly good example when we've got two regiments practically facing off. I think it was one of your regiments, it was my stone golem facing off each other.
That's right.
And it's kind of like, right, they're both within charge distance of each other. Now, whoever gets the charge is going to get a bonus. They're going to get move and attack. So do you both charge, knowing you're going to hit each other, or does one go, well, he's probably going to charge first, so I'll do the attack. And what you'll also find is the actions are colour-coded. So the second dial, the bonuses have to match the colour. So the charge takes away your bonus action, but the attack action might give you an extra hit, so it does an extra damage, or allow you to select an extra shield, which gives you a defensive bonus.
So if you're both banking on the other person attacking, do you ever just stand 15 feet away, just waving your swords at each other?
Pretty much, yeah.
We did exactly that.
Yeah.
We did exactly that because we were like, we did this kind of game of chicken where it's like actually selecting the attack action we knew was better than charging, but charging gets that advantage of they'll attack first. So it was kind of like there was a definite point where both armies actually just took 3 steps back from each other. So, oh. Charge!
And then everyone charges and collides.
I'm going to move backwards. Oh, so am I. God damn it.
Because we're both anticipating that we're both going to charge. We both actually shuffled back a bit further. And there was another one when you went to charge one of my spearman regiment, and I'd actually pivoted, so you ran right behind them.
And I charged your golem thinking it was going to sort of move forwards. And I ended up, because the game is really, really precise about where you put your trays. So it's not like within, 2 mil or whatever like that.
It's all these templates. So the template slots into the base, and then you basically move, keep the template completely still and move the units onto the next slot on the template.
Okay.
So it's not like Games Workshop thing where, you use gentleman 6 inches.
Beg your pardon?
For movement.
1 man length, yes.
Yes.
You're supposed to use a tape measure, Steve.
It was extremely precise, and I ended up something like 4 millimeters away from his bloody golem, so I couldn't attack him. Then his golem turned around and just went, well, I'm going to have you next turn, and then attacks me, smacks me on the head, and I took a bit of a kicking. However, I then turned round and just feared him and managed to just get him, because you can play, if you can put an effect, is it fear or chaos or something like that?
It's panic, it's called.
Panic, that's right. You can play, there's a deck of cards that have panic effects on them, and it's either a panic level 1, 2, or 3. So you can choose to draw these cards if you put panic on them, and if you've got enough panic, you can play the panic card with those icons on. So if you've got 2 panic, you can play up to a level 2 panic. You can't do a third. So you draw the 2 cards and you can pick one to play. Managed to pick one that basically forced his golem to turn 180 degrees round. So basically we shoved a load of spears up his arse. Needless to say, he died.
They don't like it, Upham.
No, it did not. But Steve got his revenge because his sort of main character beat the living daylights out of mine. She was tough.
I swear that character is tough.
She is.
She's well hard.
Overpowered?
No, I don't think so.
No, because me and you were basically going toe-to-toe with our main characters, weren't we?
Mm.
And I think if she takes you unaware kind of thing, she will do a lot of damage. Because I played a game against myself to kind of learn the rules before Andy came over, and she basically took out the entire undead regiment.
Wow.
Because she flanked them, which means she got a bonus, and then she rolled all her extra bonuses and did ridiculous amounts of damage. And I wouldn't say overpowered, because it's one of those games where I think everything's reasonably well balanced, but you've got to know how to use them.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So, like Andy's carrion crawler, the skeleton riding the giant worm, on its own, it's not actually that hard. It doesn't dish out a lot of damage. What you've got to do is you've got to spend a couple of rounds like spitting venom at them, which gives these blight tokens, and then hit.
Yes.
And then the blight does a lot of damage.
Yeah. And if you can use it in conjunction with the main character for the undead, because he gets a huge bonus if the target's got a blight on it. So you basically get the worm to spit at the target and then batter the crap out of it with this character. Because there's 3 types of dice in the game. There's blue and red D8s. And the red ones seem to be more damage focused. The blue ones seem to be more
effect focused.
Effects focused, yeah.
Neither of you two played Descent, have you?
No.
No, so Descent has this thing, uses very similar dice, but they're all D6s, where you roll a hit symbols for damage, but you also get the lightning bolts for surges. And these surges, you spend the surges to activate special abilities. And so this works on the same principle. You roll these dice, and then you can either dish out the damage, or nearly every unit's got a special ability. And so it'll be like, okay, spend 2 surges to move forward 1, or something like that.
Okay, so you get some extra novelties on top of things.
Mm.
Sounds pretty cool.
It was really, really good. But yeah, the main character of the undead rolled sort of like 2 big white D12 dice, which was insane. And then you could add a third one if you... Because one good thing, you can customize, because we played the basic version, we didn't play the advanced rules, where you can actually add equipment bonuses and stuff to it.
Yeah.
And one of the variants is that you can incorporate things like the golems, the characters, and the worms and the carriers and stuff into the standard flanks of troops.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically got this sort of bunch of skeleton warriors running around with a massive great undead death knight right in the middle of them. So anything they go near is just going to get their arse handed to them. So it seemed to be quite flexible as well, which was quite nice. So you could set up your army how you wanted.
Does it help those troops if you have got a big bad thing in the middle of them, or is it just...
Haven't explored it enough to see kind of what the difference is, but what that does is, yeah, if you put like the character into a regiment, that character acts as an upgrade to the regiment.
Yeah, okay.
So I think the Death Knight adds a white dice to the regiment's attack, which is quite nasty on top of their normal attack. You remove the flexibility that he won't be able to move around on his own because he's got to stick with the regiment. But everyone will give you a bonus then. And you can do the same with a stone golem. So you can have like, a regiment of spearmen with this massive stone golem standing in the middle of them. And again, it just adds a bonus to that regiment.
Mm-hmm. That sounds pretty cool.
No, it was. I enjoyed it.
So you guys played it with just the 2 of you. Can you play it with more than 2 people?
No, it's definitely set up for your 2-player miniatures game. It's a miniatures game. It's aiming for the kind of Warhammer 40,000, War Machine, Warhammer Fantasy Battles kind of market. So I would also say it's a miniatures game in that, unlike X-Wing and Armada, which is kind of Games Workshop's 2 previous entries, these are not pre-painted. So this is proper game. This is proper gaming and modelling. You're going to have to do a bit of gluing.
Yeah.
You're going to be expected to do a bit of painting as well on them.
I always thought that was one of the best bits.
Oh yeah, totally. But it's it's definitely set up for the slippery slope that is things like 40k and Space Marine and all that sort of stuff. So I'd imagine
it's just as slippery slope as X-Wing and Armada. Believe me.
Exactly. Oh yeah, totally.
X-Wing lures you into a false sense of security though, because an X-Wing ship is about £12. So you go to the shops and you just go, I'll just get another X-Wing. And then a couple of weeks later, I'll just get a couple more TIE fighters. Oh, those new Y-Wings are fancy. I'll get a couple of them as well,
that Star Destroyer's at half price. We'll buy that. How much was that, Steve? 40 quid. What?
No, it should have been 40 quid. It was 22 quid.
Oh, that's all right then. It is pretty. It's pretty huge, actually, to be fair.
It was ridiculous.
So yeah, Rune Wars was good. We enjoyed, but yeah, that's going to be a slippery slope. That's going to be I mean, it's the box set on its own is about £100, isn't it? RRP.
RRP of £100 for the base box set, yeah, and in true Fantasy Flight core set style, in fact, in the same way as many of the miniatures games, it's not enough to have a full game in that box.
I was just about to ask.
Ooh, it's cheeky.
Presumably, the first base set just comes with 2 relatively small armies, I would guess.
Yeah, as I said, you've got a character, a creature, and 2 regiments each.
Yeah. So to expand, you do want to go and buy more and different armies.
Yeah, at the moment, they followed exactly the same release pattern as they've done with X-Wing and Armada. So basically, at the moment, you can buy what's in that base set separately. And what they tend to do is they tend to do different upgrade cards with the ones you buy separately.
Okay.
So, for instance, you can buy a second Spearman regiment and it'll come with some new upgrade cards to add to your army.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
What I would say is there's about, I think I worked out about 100 points within that box set at the moment. And I think a standard game's about 200 points at the moment.
Okay, that would make more sense. Because it did seem a bit limited.
Yeah, so you're expected to have about double what you've got there.
Huh.
We played on 3 foot by 3 foot area as well. It's supposed to be 3 foot by 6 foot as a standard game.
Oh, wow.
So same depth, you start the same distance apart, but twice as wide.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you've got twice as many components to put down there, then that makes perfect sense.
It does indeed. It's like they've thought about that. Yeah, it fit quite nicely in the 3 square feet that we had. So, yeah, it would appear to fit quite nicely.
Sounds
It was
right,
good.
doesn't it?
So basically, I would just have an army of carrion riders.
Which you can do.
And
You could have an entire regiment of. You can have 6 of them in one regiment.
Yes, brilliant.
If you wanted.
They would be insanely hard.
I was about to start
But it would
singing
cost you a lot of
the
points.
Benny Hill music then, and then I realised that's the wrong. Because Carry On Riders, no, just okay, never mind.
No.
Not Benny Hill. You've lost that one.
And on that bombshell, I might just get my coat.
Taxi for Cage.
So another game we have both played is a little game coming to Kickstarter very soon. I don't know the exact date because it's been delayed a few times actually, so I'm not sure when it's coming out. Is a little game called Burning Rome.
Indeed. It's a card game. And you threw this one at me quite a while ago now. It must have been, 6 weeks ago we played it?
About that, yeah. As I said, the Kickstarter's been delayed quite a bit actually.
In true Kickstarter fashion.
Mm.
Seems to be happening quite a lot these days. So yeah, it's that's another 2-player game really, isn't it? We're on the 2-player game bandwagon this evening.
It's a little 2-player game. I'll say it's a very, very quick game, which unfortunately kind of makes my mind up about it a little bit already, the fact that it's a quick game. So it's very, very simple. You've got 3 columns, would you call it, or 3 flanks?
Columns, because flanks are left and right.
Yeah, 3 columns, so left, right, and centre. And what you're doing is you're playing troops to those columns. And playing some troops will cost you some resources. And then what you do is at the end of every single round, you look at the attack score of your column versus the defense score of the column opposite, which is your opponent's score. And if you have scored higher than his defense value, that's how much damage you do to the opposition.
Pretty much.
Every single card has got a normal attack and defense, but also has a skirmish and a siege. And what happens is, as you play cards, you cover the card below, showing only their attack and defense.
See, that was an interesting mechanic, actually. I thought it would be better than it was.
Okay.
I like its idea, and obviously it gets you to think about how you deploy your card and how you deploy your troops, which is a good thing. However, because it's a card game and there's a random nature to it, if you don't get the cards you need, you're fucked.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And you can't undeploy or move your cards around.
Every card had a special ability, or most of them had special abilities. And so the special ability of the card, if it was covered by another card as well, that special ability would be knocked out the round. There was also some like instant effect cards, and some of them allowed you to reposition troops.
But
they were few and far between. So the majority of the game, you were going to be looking at the cards played are going to stay there throughout the entire game.
Yes.
Now, that makes it interesting is you're constantly building on top of something, but it means if you think you've made a mistake or kind of go, oh, bugger, we should have played that earlier, you're kind of stuck with that for that game.
And I didn't like that.
However, the game only takes about 10 minutes.
So it's almost like a roguelike. Not quite.
Okay, I can see it coming from. Yeah.
Because it's quick, and if you get somewhere, it's great. If you don't, you just start again. But I don't know. To me, it was a bit meh.
Yeah, I kind of described it as like tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
But more advanced. Because that's that thing, if you play a card down to try and face off against one of your opponent's flanks, and then you're stuck with that for like the duration of the game. So it's a lot of trying to play a card on top of it to try and boost or change it. And it was that whole noughts and crosses thing of, you're constantly trying to counter your opponent. And so it had that, but maybe a little bit more advanced.
A little bit.
But
again, you were still limited by the cards you drew. It's not as if... I don't know, I mean, obviously it's a card game, so you're going to be limited by what's in there. It did seem like... Because, I got a run of really basic... what the hell were they called? Hoplites, I think they were called. They're basically just spearmen. They weren't very tough. And that's all I had. There's like 3 or 4 of these bloody things in my hand. I was like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do with these? They're quite good for reinforcing a particular flank, but that's all they were good for. And of course, they overwrote whichever I played them on top of. and I didn't want to play them because the ones I had down were already better. So I just had a handful of junk. Well, I want to move him to there, and then I can play that card, and then that means I can unlock another couple of my cards there, and I can put him down there and him down. But you couldn't do that, not, at least not without the special ability. So I felt it was a bit restricted in certain areas.
Yeah, I think in trying to make a game that was quick, it self-restricted itself a bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think if you could maneuver cards or bring cards into your hand, I think it'd be a very, very different game. Now, whether that makes it better or not, it just felt frustrating as you're playing it. Whether it would make it a better game, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, I was left a little bit.
Yeah, that, if you can spell that.
Yeah. Now, I've got to admit, the more I look at games, I don't like games that take 10 minutes unless they are particularly clever or particularly fun. I'm not a big fan of the whole micro game genre.
Like Game of Trains, for example.
See, Game of Trains is about half an hour. This is more like 10 minutes.
Okay, I'll give you that.
For instance, like I like Love Letter. I like Game of Trains. They are nice, quick games, but this just felt a little too quick.
Yeah.
I felt by the time it got going, it was over.
Yeah, you couldn't sort of wrap your head around it. Maybe just our aging brains don't work quickly enough, but by the time you've got to the point where I know what I'm doing, oh, it's finished. Shit.
Yes. I couldn't help but think it felt like it could be used as a mechanic in a bigger game, maybe a little bit stripped down, but you could see that as like a combat mechanic from something else, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because all you were doing comparing numbers. There was a couple of special abilities that allowed you to maybe tweak some things or add something, but in the end, you're just comparing a number against the number. You're comparing attack against defense, and it's relentless because it is every single turn.
It almost reminded me of the combat element within Hannibal and Hamilcar. Almost.
Which is bizarre because this is the same setting. It's like Roman legionnaires versus...
But Hannibal's kind of like that, where you have a general and maybe an army or two. You're basically throwing more and more troops at something, so you've got more chance of winning, i.e. your numbers are bigger.
Yeah.
But you can play cards in Hannibal as well that affect you. Various other bits and bobs, so you can sort of undermine your enemy and all that sort of jazz. So it is more complicated, but it is obviously a more complicated game. But this just felt like it could be an element of that almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it is a little too light.
So I think, on the whole, I don't think either of us are very excited by it, really, are we?
No. Like watching paint dry. No.
No, because paint takes a long time to dry.
More than 10 minutes.
You know, we talked last week when we all worked in Kinetic. You know, there was an actual department in Kinetic whose job was to watch paint dry.
No, come on. I was there. I mean, it was a ridiculous
kidding.
place to work. It can't have been true.
No, there was a paints and adhesives department.
Really?
And yeah, there was a paints and adhesives department, and I used to use their testing equipment, and quite literally, they had paint in and under like temperature, humidity control conditions, timing how long it took to dry.
Wow, what a job.
So we always used to take the mick and say, it could be worse. You could actually be watching paint dry.
Oh, good Lord. Please tell me the guy with the cape worked there.
No, this is a different build. This is a different site. So.
Oh, that's a shame. Now that is funny. Speaking of card games, I have now finally got round to playing This War of Mine.
Finally.
About bloody time, yeah. I've had it, well, pretty much since it was shipped, but I haven't actually got around to playing it. I've unpacked it, was it like 5 times now, set it up. And so I thought, right, no, this weekend I'm making a concerted effort to play it. And I did, a couple of times. Because it's a cooperative game, you can play it either on your own or with, 1, 2, 3, 4. It says up to 6 players, but I think that could get a bit chaotic. Because you start off with, like the computer game, you start with 3 characters in your little hovel that the game's set in. So it's set during the Siege of Sarajevo in the early 90s. And you play a small group of 3 to start with, civilians who are basically trying to survive the war. And they're sat in a ruined building. It's been shelled or whatever. And they're trying to make the best of it and trying to survive. And during the day, you can craft items, kit, like workbenches and stoves and stuff like that. Make yourself some food. go on a bit of an explore about the building. And then at night, one or more of your number goes out scavenging a nearby building for food, drugs, weapons, all that sort of stuff. Anything that's going to help you. But you also run the risk of running into the occupants of those buildings, if there are any. So you can get into a fight, you can get yourself shot. And the board game is just you really can. And the board game is a recreation of that. And the computer game is pretty morbid and pretty depressing.
Yes,
because we've both got it and played it, and I don't think either of us can play it for more than about an hour without wanting to shoot ourselves.
No, it's hard going. It is really hard going.
It is emotionally.
Yeah,
and I am happy to say that Awaken Realms have done a very good job of recreating that on the board game. It is brutal, I think is the best way to describe it. It is really, really tough. Essentially, a full round of the game is basically a day, and every day you go through, there's a series of chapter cards, so event cards basically, and every one's different. It'll tell you something's happened, so it'll modify one of the existing decks. So every location in the house has a card, and it'll either be furniture or a locked door or rubble or things like that, and you've got to get through them either with a shovel to get through the rubble, or you can lockpick the doors or break them down with a hatchet or something like that, or you can open the furniture, and you'll get stuff for it, so wood, mechanical parts, all these sorts of things, components, and with that stuff you can build things like stoves and stuff to make your life a bit easier. And all of that works really well and is exactly like the computer game. But the game is so against you. Every day you'll get raided. Every day. Every day you'll get colder. So this big pile of little tokens just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like, add a coal token to the coal pile. Great. I lasted one chapter. There's 3 chapters in the game. My game has not lasted more than one chapter without all 3 of my characters either dying or buggering off through misery.
Oh, God.
So essentially, my games have lasted so far about 4 days. And it is just horrendous. Because every time you get raided, you either suffer wounds or people will steal stuff. Unless you can craft a lot of weapons early in the game, which is really tough to do, you're going to get raided. You're going to lose stuff. You do get a little bit of stuff towards the end of the day called narrative action. So you get to choose. You get a choice of 2 cards, and you can pick one of them, and it's a beneficial action, so it's not all against you. But the chapter action, the chapter events, can modify some of the existing decks. So like you can put this card permanently on top of one of the decks. So basically, every time you go out, so for example, there's an encounters deck which basically simulates going through the scavenging part. So depending on which building you choose to go through, you get a number of these cards, and they're essentially like steps through the game. So it's through the scavenging. So it says, right, you found some stairs, and the idea is it says, well, you can you'll get a usually choice of a couple of things to do. So either return a couple of the encounter cards back to its original deck without looking at them, and you'll carry on and you'll get a reward or something like that, or you can increase the noise. So there's a noise tracker, then resolve the noise. So you roll a D10, and if the result is equal to or less than the noise level, then you'll encounter somebody in the house, and they're usually not that happy to see you. Because I got one mob and a fucking shotgun. He's like, right, we're trading or you're getting shot. Okay, we're trading. Okay, what do you want? But to go along with all of this is a massive book. I mean, it's a huge tome of things called the Book of Scripts. And it's almost like choose your own adventure. So you read one of these little paragraphs, or some of them are quite big, and at the end of it, sometimes it'll give you a choice. So, go to 1561 or go back to the game or whatever it is. Some of them go through quite a little myriad and labyrinth through this book. So you'll never get the same game twice, really. And then there's a randomly generated set of events as well for each of these things. So it's very, very branching, very, very open-ended, which is really, really good. So you'll never, ever get the same game twice. But it's almost always, oh my God, I really don't want to open this book. What the hell's it going to say? Because it's almost always bad. And then, one time, one of my games, I basically got a permanent sniper right outside my house. Every time I went out, I had to roll. Just in case I got shot in the head, which I thought was a bit harsh. On the whole, I like it. It's a really good game, but it is bloody tough. You've got to be in the right mindset for it. You can't just play it, I'm in the mood for a light game. No, you've got to be in the mood for something really quite tough. It's similar in a lot of ways to Dead of Winter.
Okay.
It's that kind of oppressive, constantly against you, oh my god, we've got no chance of winning sort of game. It's like that. It's definitely in that category.
Okay.
But I really like it.
How do you find the rulebook? Because I understand the rulebook is quite different to the your typical rulebook.
Yeah, it is. It goes for the approach that it teaches you as you go along. So you literally have this really tiny rule book, and it goes through each part of the day. So day phase, dusk phase, night phase. The first 2 pages of the rule book are how to set the game up, and then you start playing the game. And that's it.
Okay.
So it explains the game as you go along. So a lot of the rules are actually hidden within the book of scripts, this big Bible type affair. So at certain points in the game, you'll read a new rule, which is great when you're first playing it.
Yeah.
So you can just basically get straight into the game. But at the same time, I felt it quite stodgy to start with. Because whilst you're trying to learn how to play the game, you're also trying to learn the rules and play at the same time. And also, some of the cards you get contain events and mechanics that won't have necessarily been explained at that point in the game. So then you sort of turn the page into the next part of the rulebook and you go, oh, right, that's what prowess means. Things like that. So, I mean, it's not a deal breaker, but it does add a little bit of confusion to start with. So you can't really plan ahead too much before on your first sort of playthrough of the game. Once you've done the first couple of days, it's fine. It works really well. It's pretty smooth. You're just literally using the rulebook as an aide-memoire, just to say, right, we do this bit, then this bit, then this bit, and away you go. And it's fine. You can rattle through a day in about 15 minutes. It's quite quick. But it does also mean that if you forget some of the rules, they're a bitch to try and find again in the book of scripts, because there's also hidden advanced rules that it can guide you to as well. And if you can't remember where they are and you haven't written it down like me because you're a doofus, you can't find the bloody things.
So that sounds a bit weird. You have to write down where rules are in the rulebook.
You don't have to, but it makes sense to. I mean, most of them are in sensible positions like 100, 200, 300, 400. It does remind you of the major rules in the main rule book. It tells you where they are. Okay. So that's fine. It's all the sort of hidden advanced rules that sometimes you kind of go through a little labyrinth to try and get to. They're not too hard to find, but it does mean you've got to go sort of skip through a couple of rules to try and remember where the others are.
Right.
But in getting you into the game straight away, like with something like Scythe or Eclipse or Twilight Imperium, you've got to read the rulebook for bloody hours before you can even approach the game. Whereas this War of Mine is literally, you're playing the game, and you're having your soul destroyed right from the start.
Okay.
But I like it. I think Awakened Realms have done a really, really good job. Everything fits in the box as well, including all the Kickstarter expansions and stuff. So they've really thought about it. I haven't even touched the expansions yet because my soul was crushed twice over the weekend and I didn't really feel like playing it a third time.
That sounds fair enough.
And it was only about 50 quid as well, so it was really good value.
But that was Kickstarter value though, wasn't it? Do we have an RRP?
I don't off the top of my head, but I saw someone selling their Kickstarter version today on the Facebook board game trading and chat group. They are Bromley. There's a mention for you. For £130.
See, it's difficult to know until the game actually comes out.
Yeah,
it's difficult to know whether that's the going rate or not. That's just what someone's selling their Kickstarter copy for, isn't it? So
yeah, they're flipping it, and obviously it's got limited stuff in it. I mean, based on the content and not counting all the extra sort of Kickstarter add-on stuff I've got, I reckon probably £50 to £60 is probably where it's going to sit. I would have thought. Because there is quite a lot in the box. There's a lot of little miniatures. So it's kind of got the same number of miniatures as something like Mansions of Madness. Just for the investigators. Well, no, not counting all the monsters. So just the investigators.
Just the investigators, right, okay.
It's got I think it's about 10, something like that, characters in it, something like that. Maybe slightly more. And each one's got a little miniature. So you've got those in it. And lots and lots and lots of cards, little counters and tokens and all this sort of stuff. So I reckon 50 to 60 quid is probably where it's going to sit.
Okay.
Any more than that, I think it would be a bit pricey. But no, I like it. I really do like it. But it is tough.
So the last game I think we're going to talk about today is one, again, both me and you have played, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we've only played one game of this because it's been a bit of a tight timeline because it's a Kickstarter game. So we've been able to quick go of this before the Kickstarter comes out. Which, I need to get the full name of this correctly. I think it's called, the correct name is Star Scrapper's Cave In.
Yes.
So this is a game about mining. in some kind of... I get the impression Star Scrappers is going to be a bit of a series.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think they're intending to be a few games based in this time.
So this is going to be the first of a game in an epic trilogy.
I think that's the intention, yeah. But the last time I played a game, which was the first in an epic trilogy, it crashed and burned. So although I think this is in a better position.
Oh, okay. So this is their second attempt? Third attempt?
No. This is their first attempt. No,
right.
I played a Kickstarter game about, oh God, it's got to be about 4 years ago, because it wasn't last time I went to Scotland with John. It was the time before that. So it might even be 5 years ago. It might be one of the first Kickstarter games I reviewed.
Right. Okay.
On the website, and I'm still not entirely sure if it's made it out to the backers. It was called like Galactic Arena.
Oh God, that sounds wonderfully generic.
It was this like sci-fi gladiatorial game, and it was a bit rubbish.
A bit rubbish.
You play games with Will, so our friend Will.
Yes.
We both play games with occasionally. Will loved the theme but hated the mechanics, so we played a game of it. And this was another game that takes about 10-15 minutes.
Right.
And Will was already redesigning the game. Well, it worked much better if we did this, and then this, and then this. It's like, I like the theme, but this mechanics are terrible.
Will does that a lot, actually, in a lot of games. He has loads and loads of suggestions. He's very enthusiastic.
Yeah, bless him. Star Scrappers Cave-In is 2 to 4 player game in which you are trying to mine resources, and what you've got is like a little inverted pyramid of crystals underneath the ground.
Yeah.
There's nice little diamond-shaped tokens which form this little pyramid. Each little crystal is worth a certain amount of victory points, and the deeper you mine, the more victory points they are worth, but it's going to cost you more resources to grab them.
See, that didn't occur to me at the time. The actual idea, not the mining deeper crystals, but the idea that they're further down in the ground. But that makes a lot of sense. Now you've mentioned it like that.
Yeah.
Well done, Andy.
So, in order to mine these crystals, you're going to have to recruit miners, and these were cards. And each card had a particular strength. And the idea was, it was really, the basic concept of it was really simple. In order to mine like a crystal that had a score, had a strength, should we call it 5, you need to spend 5 points worth of cards.
Yes.
And your recruitment went in an opposite pyramid. So there'd be 4 strength 1 cards available, 3 strength 2, 2 strength 3, and 1 strength 4. And basically the way the game worked was a little bit of hand management of grabbing these characters, bringing into your hand, and then spending these characters in order to grab these minerals that were deep underground.
Yeah, and each character had either a strength that you could use to put towards the value of the crystal you wanted to mine, or you could use the character's special ability.
Yes. And there was also a way in which to grab characters, you also had to spend characters.
Yeah, so you spend a character,
less.
Yeah, one, but yeah, you could always recruit a character of value 1 more than the character you currently had, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
you always got a 1 card for free, but if you want to grab a 2 card, you have to spend a 1. If you want to grab a 2, spend a 3, and then so on and so forth. And then there was the bit which, when I read the rules, I didn't get, but thankfully we got the gist of it halfway through. Rather than taking your turn, you can raid the enemy base.
Yes.
And effectively just steal their backlog. Because as you play cards, it's not like they don't go into a discard pile. They get played face up in front of you and then stacked. So the other thing to bear in mind is that all the characters have a special ability, and the last card played fires off its special ability at the beginning of the next round.
Yeah, I thought that was quite a nice little mechanic. So you had to think about which cards you had to play in which order, and I really liked that.
I thought it was really clever. Yeah. I really liked that, because then there was that thing, wasn't it? You suddenly twigged and thought, well, hang on, I need to play these. Yeah, if I don't play these in the right order, I'm going to be suboptimal next round.
Yes.
But as I said, because you played all the cards out in front of you, I think once you had 7 in there, they started getting discarded then. And when they discarded, they were out of the game. Basically, they never came back.
No, that's it. Yeah, that was something else you realised halfway through, that, oh shit, we can't use these again. No, Steve, no, you can't. Shit!
Oh, I'll just steal all of Andy's then.
Bastard.
So it's quite interesting. You've got to keep an eye on what the other person's doing, because you can then jump in and grab all the cards they've used. So there's a point when I think you'd been mining like the really heavy crystals, so playing your 3 and 4 cards, and I went, well, if I grab them, I can go mine some 3 and 4 crystals.
So you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, although we both fucked up. There was one rule we massively broke.
Even though I'd read the rule like 3 times, it's also like color coded. So I think there's 6 colors of factions
Yes.
that these cards are based on. And then depending on the number of players, you discard some of these factions from the game. So we discard the blue and yellow factions because we're only playing a 2-player game. You then pick 2 factions that are wild cards that can be any color. And then when you are mining, you are supposed to be spending the color card of the crystal you're mining. So if you want to mine a green crystal, you need to spend only green cards. And then you could add in the wild cards as well if you were short. However, we both completely forgot that rule until about halfway through the game, by which point we'd just been spending cards to mine.
Yeah. And even that was difficult enough, to be fair.
Yes.
So trying to get a clan together of a single colour, or close to a single colour with the wild cards, that would have been really difficult. Well, I managed it a couple of times, but it was the sort of cheaper crystals, like the value 3. I almost got to value 6, but my maths didn't quite work out, and I had a value 9, and I wanted a 10. Bollocks. So, but yeah, that was quite tough. But it's an interesting twist. So yeah, you said there's the six colours crystals, and therefore 6 types of drillers.
Yeah.
And each sort of clan, I suppose, has a specific kind of ability. So, like the red ones were good at what the hell were they called?
The red ones, like you discarded them to one side, and then you added their strength to your victory points at the end of the game.
Yeah.
The green ones were like these plant beings, and they allowed you to recruit quicker.
So each clan had a specific ability. I think the brown ones were really good at actual drilling, and then there were the other ones. They all sort of did something. So yeah, you needed to use them very cleverly. But of course, in order to get all the clans together and get to sort of the 10 crystal, really took some doing. It was quite tough. And also, you could. One thing I do like actually, it's not the first time I've seen it in a game, but I did like this mechanic, is that you can accelerate the end of the game by deliberately mining specific crystals that would cause the titular cave-in. So there are some warning symbols on some crystals where if you mined it, it would advance the doom tracker essentially up by 1. And once you got far enough, the game would end and you would have the cave-in. But you also got that by exhausting some of the mercenary piles and also the piles of crystals as well.
Yeah.
So there was a number of ways to do it. So you could basically burn through a pile. So if you knew you were ahead in the game, you could try and accelerate towards the end of the game to try and screw your opponents over. So I quite like that idea as well. So it's quite a lot of good mechanics in the game, really. And
it all fitted together and worked really well, I thought, actually.
Yeah, I agree. Considering it was a prototype and it's not a finished product yet, the mechanics work really well. I quite like it, and I suspect I might end up backing it, but we'll see.
Well, one of the things that wasn't quite ready in the version we played is there was also a set collection score going on. So a lot of the crystals had a symbol on. So not every single crystal had a symbol on, but if you collected sets of these symbols, they were worth points to you at the end of the game as well.
Yes. Yeah, these totems, weren't they? But they weren't quite ready yet.
There was the totems where if you did the raid on another player's base, you also grabbed the totem as well. But at the time of recording this, the designers still haven't sorted out the totem victory points.
No, indeed.
They were saying there's a bit of work to do still on them. It's just trying to balance it, which they've done a lot of work on the graphic design. I mean, this game looked finished, didn't it?
Artwork-wise, yes, definitely so, yeah. I mean,
artwork and components, it did it. It looked like a finished game.
Yes, it really did. So, I mean, all they need to do really is just put the crystal tokens that we had into Punchboard, and it's basically finished. Yeah,
because the prototype we had was like printed on cards, like a very thin card.
Yeah.
And I spent most of the game trying to just pick these up
Shovelly
off the table.
Joe Tudor there, couldn't pick them up. So yeah, we both liked Cave-In. It was quite a good game.
Yeah. My understanding is correct. It should be hitting Kickstarter around the 18th of July, so it should be...
That's tomorrow as we're recording.
Online by the time you hear this, it should be.
Which is nice.
So I'd keep an eye out for that.
Indeed.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we were going to do some questions, but we've run out a bit of time, actually, because we've actually run out of recording time, and we're slotting in. We're in the summer holiday period at the moment, so we seem to be trying to slot in recording sessions in between everyone going away, which is not as easy as it seems. It's like trying to
Logistically
organize
challenging.
It's like trying to organise a D&D session.
It is. You're so right. Jesus, my D&D session in Worcester is proving to be nightmarish at the moment.
It's just you can't say like, all right, we'll just do Thursdays or whatever, because someone says, oh, I can't do this Thursday. And you're like, all right then, what about next Thursday? And somebody else will go, oh, I can't do next Thursday either. Well, should do it on Wednesday? Yeah, I'll do it on Wednesday. It's like, have you seen the meme? It's the Lord of the Rings Fellowship when they said, who will aid me on this quest? Oh, you can have my axe, you can have my bow, you have my sword. I can't make next Tuesday. I can't make Wednesday.
That's fantastic. That is so true. Jesus, ours is so bad we usually try and play on Mondays, but Scott at work's not able to make it anymore for the next few Mondays. I'm around, but I know there's a couple of others as well, and it's just getting silly. We haven't played for about 3 weeks.
I think it's the danger of a long campaign. I think as soon as you say, right, this is a little bit of a problem, I think, with the current D&D 5e kind of releases. It's all campaign-based. All the ones that have been out yet so far have been a campaign.
Yes. Which
means you've basically got to agree to play it for like about 6 to 9 months constantly.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Because Tale from the Yawning Portal can be played either way. It can be played as a campaign, or you can pick and choose how you want, can't you?
No. Well, sort of, yeah. It is literally just a book of like the 7 or 8 most deadly dungeons in the Forgotten Realms. You could do them as an individual adventure, yes. It would take quite a bit of effort on the DM's part, but you could do it, yeah. One of them's set for like level 11 or something ridiculous like that. It just even says right at the start, it's the last one, it says, right, this is I'm paraphrasing, but this dungeon is fucking difficult. You're probably going to die. Which is nice. But yeah, you could. But I mean, I bought the book just for inspiration, really, for the adventure I'm writing, just to pick and choose a few bits and bobs, because it's got extra bits of treasure in it and some spells and all this sorts of jazz. And I think there's a few bad guys in it too. But it's, yeah, I mean, playing as a sort of a one-hit adventure would be quite good, I think. So you could play that over a couple of sessions, it would be quite nice.
They're all mega dungeons, aren't they? They're all actually ridiculously huge things.
Yes. They are considerable in size.
Yes. Speaking of the Yawning Portal...
Gosh, you write down your gob.
It's time to call it a night, I believe. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. We have been Polyhedron Collider.
We have been.
Yet again, I've realised we never did a proper introduction, so I never explained what it was you were supposed to be listening to. So, by now, hopefully you've worked it out. Yeah.
If you can't work it out after an hour, and to be fair, the amount of faff we do usually include in these podcasts, it would be difficult sometimes. Tonight, I think we've been quite streamlined.
Remarkably so.
I know. It's an almost professional podcast.
No.
Almost.
Listen back to the first 10 minutes. That was not professional.
No, that's true, actually. We did go through about 10 minutes of shite at the start, didn't we? Yeah, fair point.
Oh, you've been awfully quiet for the last half hour, John.
Oh, I've just been listening. You guys are fascinating talkers. Sometimes I just feel I need to give you guys a bit more space to breathe as podcasters. So...
Last time you tried that, we recorded 2.5 hours of utter shite.
Yeah, well, that's why I had to come back at the end to make sure that, you guys knew that I was here all the time. But I just wanted to make sure
2.5 hours.
But I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that I was in the background and I was listening.
Pulling on our choke chains.
The waffle stick was out.
Right then.
Yeah. I'm off on holiday now. See you guys in 2 weeks.
Fine then. Fuck off.
See you in 2 weeks.
Catch you later, fellas.
There you are. Tatty bye, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you again in a few weeks.
Tatty bye indeed.
Bye.
Bye-bye.